Just before the original Joe McCarthy self-destructed, the conspiracies he saw swirling around him got much, much bigger. It wasn't just the Truman administration or the left-wing intelligentsia that had been infiltrated by the communists. Now it was the entirety of the U.S. Army. Our number one story in the countdown, the Red Baiter's virtual offspring, Bill Joe McCarthy Jr. O'Reilly, is repeating his ancestors' battle with hyperbole. First it was NBC running Think Progress to belittle him. Now it's Think Progress running NBC. And both of us being run by Barack Obama. His lead story last night, this epiphany that the CEO of the Center for American Progress, former Clinton Chief of Staff John Podesta, is somehow in control of NBC President Jeff Zucker. According to O'Reilly, quote, along with Zucker, this man Podesta is also driving the hate industry. Podesta's mainstream media is, of course, NBC News. That's the outlet Podesta uses. Bill also repeatedly implies that Obama could be complicit in all of this since Mr. Podesta was Obama's transition team co-chair. You know, Podesta was also a counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee in 1980. Former Senator Alan Simpson of Wyoming was on that committee then. So Senator Simpson might be in charge. But back to the Obama theory, Billow says to Dick Morris, quote, so you had two presidents that we know of on the record with attack teams working out of Pennsylvania Avenue. But now they don't have to do that anymore. They can work off a website, and the White House doesn't have to be involved. And I can't make any accusations. I don't want you either because we don't know whether Obama knows anything about this. But Podesta has access to Obama. O'Reilly also repeated the lie that the managing editor of Think Progress, Amanda Turkle, had harmed a rape victim and her family. And Billow wants us to care about all of this because, even though we have no influence whatsoever, quote, a well-coordinated, well-financed cabal attacking dissent is a pretty big story, especially because it involves Podesta, who has access to the president. Now for a little clarity, Billow cares because Think Progress's push to get O'Reilly's advertisers to boycott his show is gaining momentum. Spokesman Mark Shermer of Ford Motor Company, speaking for himself, not the company, I agree with you about the ratings of the hopelessly, or the rantings rather, of the hopelessly pig-headed Mr. O'Reilly. I work at Ford and support Ford, but have no idea how the decisions are made on where we advertise. From UPS spokeswoman Susan Rosenberg, further investigation is underway related to this placement. And from Capital One, regret, but so far nothing else. Notably, that effort to involve O'Reilly's advertisers is not about his right-wing smear merchant nonsense, but rather for his continued use of stalker producers to conduct ambush interviews, especially when they involve chasing young women on country roads for 2 hours. Joining me now, the managing editor of thinkprogress.org, Amanda Turkle. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, your being a guest on this program 2 nights ago helped to fuel part of the conspiracy in O'Reilly's mind. Would you care to tell everybody then which it is? Is Think Progress running NBC or NBC running Think Progress or what? Because I got to write somebody a check. Give us the flow chart.
Well, for the record, there's no tie between NBC and Think Progress. I'm actually quite flattered that Bill O'Reilly thinks we at Think Progress are powerful enough to have direct lines to the head of NBC News and the President of the United States. But it's just a crazy conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's today. Yesterday it was the other way around. We owned you guys. So
right.
Tomorrow, who knows? As I said, it'll be Trotsky and Stalin. The irony and the shamelessness of this, him saying that your website is, quote, devoted to hurting any prominent person who disagrees with liberal politics, and they don't want criticism, and if you do it, they'll get you. This is, psychologically, I think this is known as projection. Aren't those his tactics? Weren't you a witness to that, a victim of them?
Absolutely. Bill O'Reilly needs to really take a long look in the mirror. He said that paparazzi are the scum of the earth and Americans are entitled to their right to privacy, but evidently that only applies if you agree with Bill O'Reilly. If you don't agree with Bill O'Reilly, it's okay to be followed and harassed while you're on vacation or to have his henchmen come and accost you in your own garage. So it's only if you agree with him you get those rights.
Something that is actually happening that pertains to this tangentially. The O'Reilly sponsors responding to complaints about specifically that harassment tactic, some of the other ones that he's done in the last few years that have actually been, you know, borderline stalking stuff. Do you see that movement regarding the advertisers on that particular issue? Because they don't care about content, but they care about how people are perceived, whether or not they're stalkers. You see that issue gaining more traction with advertisers?
I hope so. I mean, what we're trying to do is just let advertisers know what their dollars are funding. Their dollars are funding this type of harassment, and we want statements. Just do they agree with this or do they not agree with this? And hopefully that message will get back to Bill O'Reilly. And, you know, I'm lucky enough that even though this happened to me, I happen to write for a well-read website. And so we'd like to do our part to help make sure that this doesn't happen to other people in the future. And this isn't a liberal or conservative issue. I've had people write into me saying that I may not agree with your positions, but I find what O'Reilly did pretty despicable.
Yeah, as I pointed out, when there was a left-wing blogger who went to Long Island, found O'Reilly's house, and was trying to confront him there, took pictures, tried to get pictures of him there. It's inappropriate. I mean, it is there are some rules here, and they apply in both directions to everybody, don't they?
I mean, I absolutely agree. I think there's one thing of, you know, we criticize what O'Reilly says, we put up video of his comments, but it takes it to a totally another level to go and actually find that person, disturb them while they're with their family, you know, and make them feel uncomfortable and intimidate them.
Is there some sort of unintended usefulness at the end of the day in his escalating these conspiracy theories? The shaking of this tree doesn't expose your website or, you know, the smear merchants, the left-wing smear merchants office that we have over here on the 4th floor. But ultimately, again, there is this projection element here. He seems to be describing everything that he does and projecting it out onto everybody else. Is that the silver lining here?
Well, I think a lot of people who have been watching his show recently are just confused by what's going on. You have all these conspiracy theories about this blog that suddenly has control over NBC News and the president, and everyone's in this well-financed cabal. And I think people watching are just scratching their heads a little confused. So the more out there his conspiracy theories get and the more extreme his rhetoric or his tactics, I think he may be losing people who might agree with him ideologically.
Yeah, that's right. Pick one Goldstein. It's either George Soros or it's Marcos Malitzis or it's me, or it's you, or it's Podesta, or somebody. You have to have one, otherwise you can't. The other people can't follow the story that easily. Amanda Turkle is the managing editor of ThinkProgress.org. Thanks once again for coming on.
Thank you, Keith.
That's Countdown for this, the 2,147th day since the previous president declared mission accomplished in Iraq. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck.